Hey everybody, so let me tell you a quick story. For those of you who don't know, this is my Ford model 1920 tractor. It's got a 4-cylinder diesel engine. It's a great running tractor. It's a little underpowered horsepower wise for my taste. It's like 30 or 35 horsepower, I think. But I got a really good deal on it, so that's why it is what it is. This tractor is actually made by Shibura Tractor Company of Japan. So it's actually got a really nice little 4-cylinder diesel engine in it that runs beautifully. They actually rebadged this, I think when New Holland acquired the Ford tractor division, and I think initially they may have been still selling these under the Ford name, and then eventually they just went to the New Holland. So I think there's a New Holland 1920, which was just a later version of this tractor. So here's the thing about this tractor. After I got this tractor, I bought a genuine bush hog brush hog. So brush hog's kind of a generic term for one of those big weed-eating implements of destruction that you have on your tractor, right? To cut down brush in a field. And it does a really great job at that. Bush hog is actually a brand name company, and the one that I have is really early. The company actually started out making these back in 50 something, if I recall correctly from what I read online, and mine might go back to near the beginning of the company's endeavors. And I got a really good deal on that, and it needed some work, and I did some work to it, and I've been using that for years. And lately I had noticed that it had started to act up, and rather than be proactive about doing something about what the heck was going on with it, I kind of just let it ride, and that ended up, it may end up having been a costly mistake. Hopefully not very costly. But last time I was brush hogging with this thing, a few weeks ago, the tractor, we hit something. Oh, actually I know what we hit. There were some cinder blocks that were errantly left behind from years ago that I had previously been mowing around, and for whatever reason, absent-minded or whatever, I drove right over them with the bush hog. And they disintegrated pretty quickly, but not before they dealt a final death blow to my brush hog. So the way the brush hog works, well, you know what, let's go look at it, and then that way I can just explain it better. So anyways, as we're walking over there, I'll tell you guys about the symptoms that I was getting, which was, you know, really bad noises and everything. Pushed the clutch in, the brush hog was either stopped already or, you know, near stopped. And then when I'd go to restart the brush hog and take the foot off the clutch and re-engage the PTO, what would happen is the tractor would violently shake and shudder. Yeah, ignore that. Violently, yeah, talking about horsepower, right? So, I mean, really, really badly. And in the past, it was because the arms, the two blades on the brush hog, they are mounted on a pivoting pin, a pivot pin, so they can swing out of the way. The idea being that when the mower is running at speed, centrifugal force keeps them extended. And then if you hit something, you know, some sort of obstruction, the idea is that instead of nothing giving way, by design, they will pivot out of the way. And the problem was that there was already damage on my stump jumper. And the stump jumper is a big pan underneath there that has a specific shape to it that by design is supposed to help if you run over a stump. The stump jumper is supposed to be able to literally, like, it's got like a beveled edge to it, and it's supposed to ramp over and jump right over the stump. So, you with me so far? Well, on that stump jumper, that's where those pins are mounted. My stump jumper already had damage. It had a crack in it, and it had caused the stump jumper to deform. That caused a couple of issues. Issue number one is it probably was out of balance, so that was probably part of my vibration problem. But the other issue was it was not allowing the pivot pin system of those blades to work very well. So this is my bush hog. How do I know it's a bush hog? Because it says right there, bush hog. This company's still in business, believe it or not. I like this machine, even though it's got a lot of beating on it. Here's an old repair weld that needs to be redone. I didn't do that. That was like that when I didn't do the weld. I did re-break it though. If you look at my old videos, you'll find a video series where I bought this thing and I did the work to it that it needed to have done to it. Mainly I bought a new, this is a Tisket Tasket in a basket, whatever brand, replacement wheel, and I fixed that up, and you see there's some new hardware there, and I drained and refilled the gearbox with new gear oil, and I bought the missing parts I needed here for the PTO and a safety sleeve for the PTO, and like I said, all was fine. Then this happened. Okay, that's some nasty damage there. So, but that section could be cut out and I could weld in a new piece, or maybe even heat that up and beat it down and just stitch weld it. So I mean, it still could be recovered. But the big problem right now with this thing is what's going on underneath it. Now this thing is heavy. This is good old-fashioned steel. This ain't the new crap, you know. Well, I hate to pick on any one company, but there is a brand you can buy through Tractor Supply that is not considered the greatest in durability. This thing is a beast. I mean, look at the size of the gearbox on that thing. So, anywho, let's get this thing hooked up to the Oliver loader so we can lift it up in the air and look at the underside of this beast and talk about what has happened. Wonder if this thing will start. It's been a while. What a puff. Didn't even remember to put the throttle up. And it's been sitting for weeks. Well, there it is in all its horror. That's real bad. I think I'm just going to flip this whole thing right over on its back. Too dangerous to get underneath there on that with that chain holding it. Oh, I'm actually surprised at how stable it is just sitting like that. Alright, so if I had addressed this problem when I first noticed the crack, I might have been able to have saved this by re-welding it. But what happened is now this pan is completely cracked off of the main part that has a hub that is on the shaft there. This peeled itself right over, you can see. it feels like. Gearbox is leaking. So it turns out they make these pans right here, the stump jumper pan, available, and they even sell replacement pins. What I need to do is I need to get this big nut off and drop this whole pan assembly off and see whether or not I damaged the shaft. Because if I bent the shaft, then it becomes a situation where it's like, oh, okay, I got to straighten the shaft, fix, probably replace a seal in there that's leaking, get a new stump jumper, possibly new blades. Yeah, the blades look pretty bad. And weld the damn housing where it's damaged. At that point, it might be better to just seriously consider replacing this thing altogether. This is that damaged area down here. Probably picked up a rock and rolled it right into here. See how this is loose on here? That's a common problem I've seen people talking about online. That they tighten this nut up and no amount of tightening seems to keep this from being loose. Mine's been loose like that for a while, and that's not the cause of my catastrophe over here. Oh, apparently this is a left-hand thread. Ow! This hex nut is only hex shaped in theory at this point of its life. So I wasn't going to bother trying to see if I could find a socket that would fit on this thing. I guess the one good thing about the gearbox leaking is that this didn't rust. I don't think there's going to be any coming back from this one. As for whether or not that shaft is bent, now that I see how short, stubby, and thick it is, I don't think it's bent. Look at the size of this shaft compared to my finger. Looks like the metal part of that seal is all rusted away or damaged. No wonder why it leaks. So I think a lot of the replacement parts that I saw online, the kind of generic pans that fit these, have a splined hub, where this is not a splined hub. This is it's a tapered hub with a key, big giant Woodruff key in there. I actually see bush hog, genuine bush hog part numbers on some of these parts. I'm wondering if they could possibly even be original. For instance, the tops of these pins actually are marked B, BH. I'm sure BH is for bush hog, and B is maybe the part number for these things. You know, maybe they're size B or whatever. And then on the blade, so this bar going across has a slight bend to it that's probably not supposed to be in there. So now I flipped it over, and on the other side on the blade there's a pretty long number. Under all that dirt it says bush hog. So I'll have to try and decipher some of these numbers and see if I can get somewhere as far as figuring out where to get these parts. I mean, I can always call the company. That would probably be best, right? Since they're still in business. Hopefully they're still pretty staffed, you know, with the COVID thing going on. The other thing I think you can do is you might be able to order this pan by size and then weld it back onto this bar. But of course that bar's already got a bend in it, like I said. But the pan measures from this lip to that flat surface on the top, 2.5 inches. And the diameter is 24 inches. And I do remember seeing 24-inch pans. So might be able to do it that way. Of course, measuring the shaft is a little bit trickier because it's tapered, but it appears to be 1.5 inches at the narrow point here. Alright, so the last thing I want to do is see if I can find a number on that seal. Well, as I already mentioned, the metal part of the seal is in such bad shape. It's got a lot of rust and corrosion. There's even an entire area of the metal part that's like missing here. So that's going to be a real tall order trying to figure out a part number off of that. But it appears to be a 3-inch diameter seal, so if I can identify the model of this bush hog, I can probably do it that way. Yeah, there it is right there. I thought I had seen it before, but I wasn't sure. It's model 305. There is a serial number on there. 513859. I wonder if that could mean that it's a 1959. Alright guys, I think I'm going to call this video quits here. Once again, thanks for watching. If you're not already a subscriber, please consider subscribing. Hit the subscribe button. If you like what you see, please hit the like button. And hopefully next time we see a video from me on this thing, it will be new parts in hand. Take care.